Hello, everyone. We're back. It's me, Julie McVeigh, with Unordinary Made Ordinary. And we are going to, Joe Phillips is here with me as a guest. And we did a part one and it got glitched out a little bit at the end. And so we're gonna continue this conversation with a part two because I really want to hear more of Joe's experiences. So thanks for hanging out a little bit longer, Joe.
Absolutely. Yeah, it happens.
It happens, I know. So, okay, so we were talking about you had exited your body and you were sort of in your astral neighborhood, and you noticed that the telephone wires were a little bit different in the astral neighborhood than your physical 3D neighborhood. And I find this fascinating personally because I hear this all the time, where the astral copy of our neighborhood, our house, etc., is not always exact. But we can still, there are times that I've heard people be able to go out of body, see a particular, whatever, it could be a certain rock under a tree. And then you're looking at it, you're inspecting it, you go back to body, you come back, and there's that same rock, so that you know, well, I was in my neighborhood, but still not everything is the exact copy. Do you have any theories about that? Why that is?
I don't. I mean, I have some. The Again, it comes back to what I was saying before about how I even when I think I know, I still have these doubts about whether or not it was astral or lucid, because there was another lucid dream I had where I got lucid by, I was in my backyard and I saw that the tree that's normally behind our fence wasn't there. And I
Mm,
thought to myself, Teresa, that's my wife, Teresa would have talked to me first about removing it, because that's the kind of stuff she asks me about. She wouldn't just do it. So that's when I did a reality check. I got lucid and I was in my backyard in the grass, touching the grass. But then I went inside and other stuff happened in that dream that made me think that it wasn't astral, that it was just a lucid dream. So
mm.
that's why I do think that even in lucid dream, I mean, it could have been astral, but I do think that in lucid dreams, our mind can populate an all but perfect version. So that's why I really feel like I to be 100% sure, so that I can label it correctly in my mind. And again, I don't think it may not even really matter, but just so that I'm true to my, is it lucid or astral, is trying to like seeing real words that make sense. That's
Mhm.
a dead giveaway for me, because what I've learned about lucid dreams is that the subconscious mind does not do well with words.
Right.
The subconscious deals with symbols.
Well, I've also another theory that I've heard, other than you're saying, which is interesting. Well, our lucid subconscious, even though it's a subjective world, we can do very well, a good job at recreating our own environment, our home, our house, yard, neighborhood. Another theory I've heard, though, is that we have a very slippery consciousness. So we could be in an astral projection and slip a little bit to, in, I guess you would say, a lower awake consciousness, and some dream elements can be pulled in possibly to an astral projection.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I would. Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah, I think that yeah, I think the lines are often blurred between the two. Yeah.
So, okay, the other types of ways. Now, it's interesting you said when you roll out of body, you have the vibrations and you get up out of body and you walk around, those are very limited. You feel like you're not out of body very long during those. Um, so because I kind of feel like that too. I have a hard time extending those experiences. Um, what are the experiences when you can spend more time out?
Yeah, those are bittersweet, because I'll catch myself. I remember thinking to myself, wow, I can't believe I've gone this long. I can't believe that I've
Mhm.
gone this long without being snapped back into my body. And just a couple of mornings ago, I had an astral experience where I don't remember how it started, but I remember I was talking to this guy who I'm pretty sure approached me and I think he might have helped me become lucid.
Oh, interesting.
And we had a long conversation, and I just had loads of questions for him. And he told me that there was this moment where I thought this must have gone for 20 minutes now, and I was shocked. And I told him my trip is going to end soon. I'm about to be snapped back into my body, and I always try to say thank you for taking the time. It was nice to meet you, and I try to represent our dimension here the best I can, nice to people, and
Yeah.
I was letting him know this is about to end for me, and he didn't really respond. He just kind of gave me a smirk, like he knew better. Like
Huh.
he and I stayed in there another 5 minutes or so. So that was interesting. But we came up with this whole plan, and I don't remember very many of the details. When I woke up, I could like feel the memory of it getting sucked out of my mind, and I'm trying to grasp onto it as much as possible, almost like a near when someone has a near death experience,
Hmm.
and you just don't take back a whole lot. But I know we talked about a lot of stuff, and I even did a reality check in that environment just because I'm used to it. Anytime I look at the time, I always look twice. That's just a habit now. And I looked at the time, and it was like 2:24 or something like that. And I looked away and looked back, and the time was the same. And so that was just a validation for me. Okay, this is
Oh,
definitely astral.
right.
And he was a very wise man. He knew a lot of stuff. Anyway, he told me that there's an organization, like there's a group that he's a part of. And I was talking to him about astral travel versus lucid dreaming and some of my own thoughts around that. And I was kind of having a similar discussion with him that I'm having with you about different experiences I've had and how I approach them. And I told him, like, half the time I try to just have fun and do something interesting. And
Yeah.
then the other half of the time I'm trying to grow and learn and trying to
Hmm.
contribute to the advancement of humans and our evolution. And he was very non-judgmental. He was just hearing me, and he's like, yeah, yeah. And he told me that his team, his group started all of that, that the group that he is a part of like invented astral travel, is what he told me.
Huh.
And after I woke up, I thought, I don't know if that's what he was really. That was what he said. Those were like the words he said. Something like, "We started that," but I
Hmm.
don't know quite the context around that. If he meant more like
Hmm.
if he was maybe one of some of the earlier, if he had an early human incarnation that started to do that, or if it was more like he was part of a spirit team that helped mankind gain that skill, or if it was more specific to me, like he helped me, caused me to become aware in
Hmm.
this particular dream. I don't
Right.
know, but that was what he told me. And then I also told him that I have a hard time initiating astral travel. Like I can do it if I disrupt my sleep and all that. And
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have very many throwaway days where I can watch Netflix in my sweatpants and just throw the day away. So
Right.
I don't try to astral project all that often because it's physically taxing sometimes, because I'm just laying in bed for like an hour, not
Right.
sleeping.
Right.
So I don't try to do it all that often. So I was talking to him about this and told him that it's difficult for me. And then he said, I can teach you how. And he basically offered to take me under his wing as like his protege. And he gave me all kinds of, he told me like what his group was called and where they were located. And he
Oh my
basically
goodness.
told me that because I was like, well, what should I do? Like what's the next step? And he said, I'll come and get you. Like he basically said,
Wow.
yeah, there's nothing else you need to do. I'll come grab you. And he was very just casual about it. Like, yeah, I'll find you. And what was interesting about that, and he told me the name of the group he's in. What was interesting is he must have known I would have a hard time remembering because he gave me a mnemonic device to help me remember.
Hmm.
Because he told me the name of the organization that he's with is called First Iirch. And I kept hearing
First.
Iirch, Iirch.
Okay.
And I kept hearing it wrong. I was like, I thought he was saying First Firch. And this was towards the end when I'm almost waking up and it's starting to get a little bit blurry.
Hmm.
And he says, no, first and then Iirch is Iirc. He spells it out for me. And then he tells me that now there's also Birch, he says, Birch is significant for your wife. There's someone in your wife's ancestry with the name Birch.
Huh.
And so that, whether or not that's true, because I asked my wife, she's like, yeah, I don't know. Actually, that didn't ring a bell for her. But
Oh.
in retrospect, I think he was just giving me a mnemonic device to help me remember those words when I woke up, because those words were going through my mind when I woke up. That was the last thing I remembered. And so he told me that that's his organization. And then what was interesting, so I connected with this guy who lives over in Indiana, who's an avid astral projector. He's not a part of any groups. He just kind of goes to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't really trust others very much, but he has a breadth of experience. And I text him every time I have an experience like this. And I said, hey, here's what happened in my astral projection last night.
Yeah.
And he told me that he's been approached by others, like masters, over the last couple of months as well. And he said that he gets the sense that these, spiritual masters are scrambling to find students right now, and that
Whoa.
he gets the sense that something significant is about to happen, because there's this big push right now to find
Hmm.
people that are at a certain level that can be brought into something.
Hmm. Okay, so this is my brain is like, okay, I want to meet him. If you see him soon, say, oh yeah, go ahead and help Julie out as well. Um, yeah, so I'm curious, you were with this gentleman all of a sudden. Do you remember how you got out of body? You said you think he woke you up. Do you think you were basically just out and about in an unconscious dream and he came
Right.
around?
Yeah, I remember I was having some weird dream where there was this house that was like being airlifted and like
Okay.
being landed on this square green patch of land in the middle of nowhere in some ocean. So just
Oh, cool.
this nonsensical dream.
Hmm.
And then the next thing I knew, I was in the house, and him and I are talking. And I don't remember anything. The only thing I really remember is I thought to myself, wow, this has gone on for a long time. And
Interesting.
I'll have
Okay.
other lucid or astral experiences where my first memory is, this has been a long lucid dream. And I remember in the moment, I remember remembering this long conversation. And I know there was a lot of other stuff we talked about, but then when I wake up, trying to pull those memories back is very difficult. And so that's why, so when I say my longest experiences are 2 minutes, some of those I think are longer, and all I remember is 2 minutes.
Sure. Right. Um, okay, first Iirch. I have to keep that in my memory too. Well, I can always go back and listen to this, can I? And everybody who's listening to this is going to be writing this down and probably meditating with that information. Like, hello, I'm interested if you want to take another member. Um, I have heard that we go out of body every night when we dream and just we're
Mhm.
unconscious, kind of walking around, whatever, and that there are conscious travelers out there that could wake us up.
Yeah.
However, I've also heard of people trying that, and then the person they're waking up gets frightened because they're not ready to wake
Mm,
up. But then there's others like you and I that would probably be very thankful if somebody came along and woke us up.
right.
So, gosh, it's so interesting. So he hasn't come back. This was a couple nights ago.
Yeah, this was 2 nights ago. And yeah, so now kind of as I go to sleep, I just sort of put this intention out there that I'm open to be visited. But
Right.
he made it sound like even then there's nothing I need to do. He'll just insert himself at some point,
Mm.
is kind of what I got. He wasn't in a hurry. He was just like, yeah, I'll help you with that. I'll show up.
So have you ever met, I'm thinking maybe, would you consider this maybe one of your guides or
It
not
might be.
necessarily?
There is this one familiar face that I keep seeing, who says he's my guide.
Oh, okay.
And- Yeah, and I have encountered others that have claimed to be my guides, or I don't know. There's been some where I just feel this deep connection with. So I don't know if it's a guide or someone in my soul family. but I just wake up with this feeling of loss, like, oh, I connected with someone.
Yes.
I was with someone and I just felt
Yes.
like they were we like I have this deep, deep
Yes.
connection with this person, and now they're gone, and I wake up just feeling devastated over it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
That's
I think I
interesting.
I think I have encountered guides. I did have one this one interaction with this young lady. I was in a lucid dream, and my lucid dreams, like, I'm not fighting dragons or anything like that. I'm just in day-to-day stuff. I was in a grocery store. I was in a pharmacy, and I got lucid. I never remember what happens before I get lucid. I just remember
Becoming
something
right.
caused me to do a reality check, and then I become lucid, and it shocks me every time. Like, I'm always shocked that it's not that it's a dream. And yeah, there was this
Oh,
one instance where I was in a pharmacy, and this young woman comes up to me, and she looked like she was a college student. She walked up to me, and she told me her name and what planet she was from. She
okay.
just
I was
got
going to
back with
ask you if you've met ETs. So,
Yeah, she said, I'm so and so, and I'm from planet such and such. And I had a
okay.
separate goal for that dream, so I just kind of ignored her and I just walked away.
Oh, man.
And yeah, and but then after that, I don't even remember what she said. I just remember she told me her name and her planet. So then I thought, maybe if she's telling me where she's from, I wonder if I'm from another planet. So then I made it a goal of finding out. Every time I got lucid, I would find a dream character and I would ask them, where am I originally from? What planet am I originally from? And three three different dream characters spanning two separate lucid dreams told me the same planet. They said, you're from Creson.
Okay.
And I thought, what's Creson?
Mhm.
And they told me what I was doing there and what my life was like there. And it's just over my head. It's just stuff I can't even wrap my head around it. But they had stuff to tell me about this planet. Um, and so I'd asked Cyrus to ask his team, and so he had talked to Lorna, and she had told him, like, he had me send a picture of myself and some of my background, and he got back to me and told me that I have like 14 star seeds. So he couldn't even get through all of them, and he had said that Lorna said that that's very unusual. Most people have like one or two star seeds, and I have this huge number of star seeds. And so that's something I'm trying to like figure out, is there significance to that? And I'm,
Mhm.
this one planet Creson keeps coming up. So I'm trying to find out,
Hmm.
what is that? Is it somehow significant to my current incarnation and whatnot?
So, it sounds like what you're doing, what I'm hearing is that you think your subconscious knows a lot more information about your past lives and whatnot. So that's why when you go into a lucid dream, you ask a dream character because you're hoping that your subconscious will reveal it to you.
Yeah, or I mean, I don't know if it's a dream character or some entity.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know, or if it's an entity, perhaps it's someone that knows me from past existences, and they're just kind of hanging around while I'm in the dream world. I have no idea. But
Yeah.
sometimes when I talk to a dream character, they just say nonsensical stuff, and
Okay. Interesting.
sometimes they are very intelligent and tell me things. And so I just sort of but I've also found that in those states you get what you expect. And so if I genuinely expect someone to help me, or if they I'll ask a dream character, can you represent my subconscious mind? And they'll say yes. And then
Mm.
I'll ask a question, and then they give me an answer. Like, I had one where as soon as I was lucid, I saw this old bald man nearby, and he was just staring at me like he was evaluating me. And he seemed like he had a real consciousness to him. And so I asked him, can you represent my subconscious mind? And he said, sure. And then I thought, oh, and I was like, oh, what was my goal? What was my goal? And I asked him, oh, can you show me one of my past lives? And he said, and he just kind of, he was like this, and he just goes, and then he starts walking down this hallway, and I follow him. It's this dark, dingy hallway, and he takes me into this room, It was a dark room. It was vaguely lit up by a moonlight outside, but there was nothing in this room except for a chair, and on the chair sat a picture frame. You ever see like these older style picture frames that have like a dozen or so little frames inside them?
Hmm.
And each of them was like a 3 by 5 movie going on of
Wow.
different scenes. And I got up close to it, and he pointed to one of them, and he goes, that one right there. So I look at it, and I see a video of a dog barking, and it was in a barn. It was boarded up, so it was being boarded in, and the dog was just barking. And I asked him, "Was I this dog?" And he said, "No, the one right above that. I looked at the wrong one." And the one right above that was like these cartoon images, and it looked very, very advanced. And it looked like it might have been maybe a future life, maybe. And so I asked him what that is, and he said, you made that." I asked him, "I made this?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "When? Because this doesn't look like past. This looks like the future." And before I could get another answer from him, I woke up.
Oh,
But
wow.
he was just someone in a dream. And I just kind of feel like if I empower someone to
Hmm.
play that role of being my subconscious, then they just sort of step into that. So I don't know if he was an entity or part of my mind,
Hmm.
but I do think that every experience I've ever had, past lives or whatever, is buried in there somewhere. Or at least I
Wow.
suspect that, because I just ask and it's shown. So
Gosh, that's amazing. Do you is there anything you want to tell us about Creason, right? Is that the name of
Creason is what I was told.
Creason?
I don't know, I don't
Is
know
there
how it's
any
spelled or anything. That's just how what they said.
Was
Yeah.
there anything unusual about the life that you lived there? That
The only thing is I get the sense that um I have the impression that I was part of that I was in some sort of a government role, and
Huh.
I was part of some intergalactic project involving like a space station or something. Um
Wow.
that's I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of because what the first guy that told me, when he started telling me, he started like hopping up and down on one foot and like hitting his head, and he was just but he would but he just starts spitting out all this information. You were doing this and that, and you were in, and he
Huh.
just it was the information was coming out of me so quickly. And I don't know what he was doing with his body, but the information was coming at me so quickly that I just barely got a sense of it.
Mm.
And then it was in a following dream where I asked, I was in like a really nice restaurant, and I went in the bathroom, and it was just this really like fancy marble, bathroom. And there was this janitor in there. He was just mopping the floor. And I asked him, "What planet am I originally from?" Same question. He gave me the same answer. "You're from Creason." And he said it like it was obvious, like, "Don't you know? You're from Creason." And I asked him, "Was I part of some sort of government space station project?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah."
Wow. Okay.
So I mean, it was something like that. Now, I'm I'm like a total skeptic,
Hmm.
don't buy into anything. So part of me is still like, this could all be nothing.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think it's probably something.
Wow. Okay. You've had some really cool things going on, especially this last one is I'm going to
Yeah.
be very curious to hear if he starts coming to get you and you start learning some things. You better keep me updated. So I'm assuming you believe that anyone can be trained in this, can learn how to do this.
Yeah, I think so. I think probably for some people it might be a little easier for than others, but I think it's just like anything else. You put enough work into it, and you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, even someone as busy as you are, because I hear, people say, "Yeah, I don't have the time. I'm just too busy." And somehow you figured it out. But it's interesting. I like that you began as a lucid dreamer. I feel like that's a really good, strong foundation
Yeah,
for people to begin
yeah,
in that manner.
right.
Um, And if what if I could ask you, what is one thing that you hope to learn or discover from all of this?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Dolores Cannon, and she talks about how we create our own reality. And so I'm very, very interested in learning more about the how around that, because if we think about like law of attraction and all that, we're kind of told like visualize it, know what you want, make it tangible in your mind, believe it's already happened, and then wait for it to happen. But I'm also like, when you think about quantum physics and the multiverse and how that all works, my theory is that what happens is when you visualize something clearly enough, it's not so much that you create it because it already exists, because everything exists essentially.
Mm,
If there's no if you create a million different versions of yourself every day, and each of those creates a million versions of itself every day, I mean, just how, if you just look at how vast all the possibilities are, that would mean everything you could possibly think of is out there somewhere. So I think that I'm wondering if just like the physics of it is more like when you make it more tangible in your mind and create it, you kind of you identify that as one of your realities that you are trying to sync yourself up with,
mm-hmm,
and that you over time gradually bridge the gap between that reality and your own reality
mm-hmm,
until they meet. And that's what I think happened. That's what I suspect happens. And so that's something that I would like to, because when we think about, when we learn about things like law of attraction, we're told you have to raise your vibrations to that level.
mm-hmm,
And I think, well, what does that mean? Does that mean raising my vibrations in general? Because that's just like a that's just like a you know that's just raising your vibrations.
mm-hmm,
how do I how do I raise my how do I raise my vibrations to getting a promotion? Does that mean I just make
mm,
myself in alignment with that reality by thinking about it a lot? And
mm,
I wonder if it's more on a physics level about recognizing that reality, recognizing it as being real, and being aware of daily shifts, and kind of like a radio signal, honing into that to work your way to it over time,
hmm.
and that we can get help from guides and whatnot, and that process. But I've never heard Dolores Cannon or any of her you know students talk about it in that way, verbalize it like that. But I
Right.
wonder if that's what's going on. So that's one thing I'd like to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I could see how that could benefit your life, our lives. W- I'm curious. I know we're again getting close to being out of time,
Mhm.
probably, and you're going to have to get back to work. But um, ha you've kind of been a religious, spiritual person all along, but has this changed your opinion about death in the afterlife?
Yeah, it has. I used to think that you know you die, you go to heaven, and then you live forever in whatever heaven's like. And I used to think of it as this kind of heaven or not. And I mean, I've always suspected heaven was much more, like scriptures don't say a lot about heaven,
Right.
and we kind of create assumptions about heaven. But I've always thought that there was more complex than what we're ever taught in various scriptures. But I think that now my thoughts on it are that when you die, you your spirit body your soul essentially simply moves to a plane of existence that is conducive to who you are. So if you're a loving
Oh.
person, if your vibrations are high, you have peace in your heart, you're the more evolved you are, the higher evolved plane of existence you gravitate to as a matter of physics. That's you go somewhere that's conducive to your energy. You can't have someone who's at a low energy level go to a high energy level. It can't happen. And so I think that that's probably, it seems to me like that's
That's
what
what happened.
happens. And I think that there are far more possibilities, far more levels of different planes of existence that we could consider as heaven than what anybody realizes.
Well, so if we cross over and we're a somewhat lower vibrational energy, do you have any opinion on if that, because I'm assuming you believe in reincarnation,
Mhm.
obviously. So question one, do you think we have to reincarnate somewhere? And if you're a lower vibrational level, do you think that that person, entity can evolve in that afterlife environment so that if they do incarnate, they can have a more, I don't know, successful incarnation? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely seems that's what happens, that that we can choose, but so it's a yes and no. It's yes, it's not we're not forced into it. We can choose reincarnation, but on the other hand, it is forced because if you just think about the idea of living forever, I mean that's a mind-blowing thought. If you really just sit with the idea of living forever,
Mhm,
even if you die and go to the other side, your life is reviewed, all that you can start to see, and then your guides show you, and you walk through. Okay, here's where I hit the mark. Here's what I came here to do.
mhm,
I failed. I was succeeded. Whatever it is. Oh, I had no idea I did that to this person. Oh, even if you don't want to go back, like you could say like, yeah, I don't want to go back. I'm done. I like this much better.
mhm,
Well, forever is an incredibly long time. There would have to be some point where you say, okay, I'm ready to go back and settle up some of my karmic debts. I just think that yes, it's no, it's not forced, but we eventually choose it because it takes a long time to grow and mature on that side. Here we can grow and mature very fast. And so if you find yourself in a certain plane of existence and you want to transition to a more evolved place, the only way to do that might be to come back and go through it again.
Do you think Earth is the only place that you can evolve so rapidly? Do you think there are other 3D planets that we can
Oh yeah,
have?
there's got to be others, but I think that by by being part of Earth's collective consciousness and the relationships we establish with other Earthlings,
Mhm,
we form these ties to Earth, and
mhm,
we form these connections with other souls that are going through the Earth experience
mhm,
that pull us back to Earth again because
mhm.
we have some things to settle up with other souls that are in Earth, and we have,
Interesting.
you could die, but other versions of yourself are still going through Earth. And so, even if I were to die today, I might still be sort of bound to Earth because I have other aspects of myself. My higher self is still watching other versions of me play out their existence on Earth. So, it wouldn't surprise me at all if, even if I wanted to go somewhere else, I'm kind of in a holding pattern until all of me goes through the Earth experience.
Interesting.
So I
Okay.
think I think it's far more complicated
Yeah.
than I mean, we like to think of these terms as, with these things, as binary. It's a this or a that, but
Yeah.
so I think in a way it's both. Um, but that's why I think we keep coming back to Earth, is because we have these relationships. Now, what I would love to do is I want to go everywhere, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm also a long-term thinker, and forever is a very long time. I could have 1,000 different Earth lives, and I still have eons ahead of me.
Mm. Yeah, you have a really interesting points of view. And it sounds like over the last few years, you've really been developing and refining these ideas of yours. So I'm really glad that you took some time to hang out and share this with me and with whoever's listening. We are going to have to sign off, but before we go, I um, do want to leave you with any last words. And if you have any current projects that you wanted to share with the listeners, or if you want them to connect with you and be able to get a hold of you, you may not, and that's fine too. But I wanted to put that out there, and I'll put any links that you want to share with the listeners on the video description.
Okay, thank you. No, I don't have any projects or books or anything like that. I'm just a guy exploring. But if anyone who if anything that I've talked about, if anyone wants to ask me more or have a conversation with me, you can always just direct message me. I'm pretty accessible. Yeah, just look me up, email me, message me.
Okay.
And one word of encouragement I would just give to people is love other people.
Mm.
Love everything around you. View the pencil in your hand as God, the energy of God. Love everything around you, love everybody around you, and think about, if you are loving someone, you don't get to be the one to decide if you're loving them. They're the ones that get to decide
Mm.
if you're loving them. And so go through life loving others, and everything else just works itself out. You don't have to overthink it.
Ooh, I like that. Thank you. Thank you again to Joe Phillips so much for sharing with us his amazing experiences and his insights. And thank you to everyone watching. This has been Julie McVeigh with Unordinary Made Ordinary, and I hope you'll join us next time for another fascinating interview. And if you enjoyed this interview, please, hit the thumbs up, give it a like, and then if you like this type of content, of course, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're alerted to future videos. And I do hope you're having a fantastic day or evening, wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.